Hello and welcome. My name is Tania Diggory. I'm the founder and director of Karma, a training organization empowering entrepreneurs, freelancers, and business teams to nurture good mental health and well-being. I am so delighted today to be joined by Dennis Reolojo-Howell, founder of PsychReg and an incredible writer. So we are going to be talking a lot today about the benefits of writing, of blogging, and how it can support your mental health and well-being. So Dennis, hello, and thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for the invitation, Tanya. It's lovely to be here, and I'm looking forward to share to your audience about my journey as a blogger, and of course, how blogging could actually help us when it comes to mental health and well-being.
Amazing. Thank you so much. So first of all, can you just tell us a little bit more about you and your background?
Okay, I'm originally from the Philippines. I came here in 2013 to do a master's degree. So my research project was about obviously blogging, whether it could improve body satisfaction among female adolescents in the Philippines. I've always been fascinated as a blogging. I think that the best way is to just take you to my childhood. I would say that since I was 8 or 9, probably, I've kept a journal, and until now I have that. So I've always been an introvert as a kid, and I process my experiences, my thoughts through writing. And then fast forward, of course, with the digital age, it's kind of unnatural to keep a journal, but rather we express ourselves through online content, such as through social media and through blogging. And so I've heard about this wonderful website called WordPress, and I'm also into content design, shall we say, website design. And so that became the trigger for me to launch a blog. My blogging journey started as, like any other blogger, just a personal blogger. And I'm using the word personal blogger very loosely. So basically, I'm just sharing my experiences, my opinions, because I'm quite opinionated. So I'm sharing opinions about politics. And then later on, after 5 years, when I was in my 20s, I was a travel blogger. So I've been traveling around Southeast Asia on my own, in Thailand, Vietnam, Malaysia. And so I was kind of, chronicling my travel experiences so that, other solo travelers could also learn from it. And then when I moved here in the UK, I was sort of like, travel blog is not really aligned with what I'm doing at uni, which is psychology, which is mental health. So I kind of relinquished that travel blog and start off with another blog again, which is PsychReg, and that's the idea behind it. And so since then, I've been working on PsychReg. I've just been sharing contents from people who've got fascinating stories about mental health, stories about recovery. And on top of that, I'm also sharing the latest research about psychology, about mental health. And I'm also sharing some tips about promoting wellness. So that's kind of my journey, really.
Wow, that's so fascinating. And I love how it all stems from, growing up in the Philippines, and what you mentioned about female adolescence as well, and how your writing journey started so young, and where it's taken you now. Did you document all your travel blogs as well? Did that become something that you published online, or was that something more personal to you?
I documented it online, but I already deleted it. So probably people could still find it. I don't know if you know the website called Web Archive. So you can go back to how the website looks like, even though it has been deleted. So it's still there, but it's no longer my focus. As cheesy as may sound, when we grow old, interests evolve. So I'm still a passionate traveler, but I tend to focus now on my blogging to mental health and well-being.
Oh no, that's fantastic. And I think so many people also connect with travel and the fascination of travel and seeing loads of places. So it's so cool that you started in that place, and then it began this trajectory journey to PsychReg and what you're doing now. That's fantastic. So what was it that really inspired you to write in the first place?
Because I think that I've always wanted to express myself, but let's just put it this way: writing is more forgiving. Because you know, like when you choose to express yourself through speaking, it's just, you know, you have to do it right straight away. Whereas with writing, whereas with blogging, you could always tweak it, and you could always edit it. It's more forgiving. So that's my chosen medium, and it kind of fits in with my personality. And then I also love website design. As weird as it may sound, I've actually got an eye for a font. I could identify font just by looking at it.
You know,
And
my
sometimes,
husband's a designer. That doesn't sound weird at all.
yeah,
You talk about
yeah.
all day.
Sometimes my husband says that I'm weird because, you know, sometimes we go out, and then I said, you know what, that is Lato, that is Roboto, and I'm really that weird. Yeah, so I think that eye for detail and that eye for design is one of the fundamental reason that I want to create a space. And of course, I also want to express myself. And not only that, I also want to invite people to share their stories, because fundamentally that's what blogging is all about. It's, you know, creating conversations and inviting people to share their stories.
Yeah, absolutely. Story sharing is so powerful, isn't it?
Mhm.
You know, you've got such a powerful one yourself as the starting point, and so that can inspire many people as well, I'm sure, that you work with too. That's amazing. So I'd love to know a little bit more about your process of creating your blogging platform. Like, what made you think, I
Mhm.
want to turn this into a blog, and what was that process like?
Mhm. I'll take you to my launching year, which is 2014. So basically, I'll just explain first what's the reason behind the name PsychReg. It's basically when I started PsychReg, it was a directory. So it was PsychReg, Psychology Registry. So it was basically just a directory of people whose background is in psychology. So basically, I just asked people, would you like me to publish your biography?
Mm.
And so I've been doing that for the whole year. And then later on, people ask me like, you know what, a biography is useful if you're just buying it, but why don't you just also publish writings or insights? And so that gave me an idea. I think, yeah, that's good. So since then, I've been publishing a range of articles from different people. So basically, that's the idea behind PsychReg. And my process basically is I just want to be like a mishmash. It's a messy website because I don't really have a specific, you know, kind of content I want to publish. So I publish all sorts of things. I publish press release. I publish obituary. I publish events, and I even publish like call for papers.
Right.
Call for papers is like, you know, a journal is inviting people to submit on their journal. I also publish that. And then I also publish mental health stories. So my content is really mishmash. And I also have a podcast. I also have an open access journal because I know it's messy, but I think that there's no website as messy as mine, and I think that's what makes me unique. And I will mention a website. I always look up to Psychology Today because today that's the most visited website. You know, they've got over 25 million monthly visits a year, and that's what I look up to. That's what I aspire to. I want to be Psychology Today, but I want to not just be a copycat of Psychology Today. So I know that Psychology Today do not organize an event. So I organize my own event. I know that they don't have a podcast. So that's why I have a podcast. And I know that most of the articles are written by academics. So I want to put a twist. So I also invite academics, but really at the heart of what I do is I want to invite people who don't have a technical experience when it comes to psychology, but they're expert when it comes to experience because they have a lived experience of mental health. So that's kind of my process when it comes to managing PsychReg.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I mean, it just sounds like you're so passionate about sharing stories, you know, however mishmashy it is.
Yeah.
That's great. And you know, what an aspiration as well. So, you know, I agree. I think Psychology Today is a fantastic resource.
Mm.
I love PsychReg, and I think the direction that you're going in is so inspiring. And like you say, it's just as many different mediums and opportunities as possible to share people's stories, and that in itself is so inspiring. So congratulations on what you've
Thank
achieved.
you.
And speaking of achievements, you recently won Blogger of the Year, is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. I'm very pleased that I won Blogging of the Year. I've been joining a lot of blogging awards. I've always been nominated. And so this year, 7th of August, I've been awarded Blog of the Year. I'm really pleased about it and so humbled about it. Thank you to the organizers of Mental Health Blog Awards, to Mike Douglas. I know it's a lot of work to pull out all of this, to organize an event. But I think what I want to communicate to aspiring bloggers is that it's not just about awards, but it's rather being authentic. What are you really trying to achieve with your platform? And then on the process of that, getting an award will just be incidental. I'm not going to lie. I've always wanted to be an award, but that's not the sole motivation for me for running Psychridge. The motivation is really personal, because I know that, it helps a lot of people, especially when, they're reading my content. I'm receiving emails. Of course, not all of them are positive. I'm receiving emails that they're telling me that my content has helped them. And of course, some other people were more critical of what I do.
Oh, well, you're never going to please everyone, are you? And
I'm willing to talk more about that.
Yeah, you're welcome to.
Yeah.
But I really believe, I don't know about you, Dennis, but it's not about trying to please everybody as well. And the most important thing is about being your authentic self. As long as you're always being true to who you are, you're being kind in what you do, and you're passionate about giving a good service, whatever that is. If it doesn't please everyone, then it doesn't please everyone. But the people who do connect with you and resonate with your message, I mean, that just counts for so much, doesn't it, when you receive that kind of email, right?
Yeah. Basically, I think what you have to realize is that when you're a content creator, a content can be accessed by everyone. Of course, like what you've said, you can't really please everyone. So you have to prepare yourself. So that's another aspect of blogging that you have to be aware of. Your content, your platform is accessible to the public. So if you're not really emotionally prepared to process those feedback, those criticisms, you're better off just expressing yourself through the traditional way, which is keeping a journal, because essentially they're the same. Expressing yourself through writing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it does absolutely require, emotional resilience in that sense, which is something, of course, that we can all keep evolving and developing with. And it's a skill. And just, understanding what it is that you really want to put out there, and being true to that is so important, isn't it? And it was very modest what you said about awards. I mean, yes, of course, it's not just all about the awards, but, it is such a great achievement that you got to this point. And, it's a credit to you to show that you've put in all these years of effort and energy and getting Psychridge up to where it is now. So, awards are a great way to show credibility for what you do and being recognized by your peers. So huge congratulations to you for that. And where is Psychridge at the moment in terms of readership? You've got some really impressive numbers.
Yeah, my readership is over 100,000 a month, and most of my readers are coming from the US, because I publish in English, but a lot of my writers are all over the world. I've got contributors from India, I've got contributors from Pakistan. We're actually a team in Psychridge. So two of my sisters from the Philippines manage my social media, and they also help me with publishing the content. So it's really a global brand. And also the podcast of Psychridge is managed by two guys based in America, Dr. Bernie Wilkinson and Dr. Richard Marshall. So they're academics. So the take on podcast is more leaning towards the academic side. And that's what prompted me to kind of, launch another podcast, another YouTube channel, which is DRH show. So I'm talking to a range of people. So our predominant readership is really in the US and in the UK, but our contents are prepared by people from different countries.
Yeah, so it sounds very global in terms of how many stories that you put out there and contributors that you have.
Mm.
That's fantastic. And I love that you've got a bit of a family business thing going on there with your sisters helping you too.
Yeah, they're very supportive of what I do.
That's fantastic. Love it. So you just don't stop, Dennis, do you? So not only are you managing PsychReg and all the wonderful things that are going on with that, you're winning awards, you've got this amazing ambition for where you want to get to with PsychReg, but you're also, alongside all of this, studying a PhD, which is on the topic of blogging being used as an intervention for suicide, which I find just such a powerful topic
Mhm.
exploring. So can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yes, that people do PhD for different reasons. Some of them want to establish a career as an academic, and that's not my reason. My reason for doing a PhD is because I want to position myself as an expert when it comes to blogging, promoting blogging as an intervention. It might sound like a really, a bit grand, but one of my dream is that I want to be known as the world's blog psychologist. I want to be recognized. I want to be known as someone who proven that blogging could also be used as an intervention. So that's my motivation to do a PhD. And of course, what's better way than to dedicate 3 to 6 years of your life doing evidence-based research about the efficacy of an intervention than by doing a PhD. Yeah, I'm really excited about it, and I'll be starting my journey with my PhD very soon. And I'm very grateful that I managed to find research supervisor who, trusted my line of research that I'm willing to carry out. So basically, my PhD will be a continuation of my research project. As I've mentioned earlier, during my MSc, I did a research project exploring whether blogging can be used as an intervention to help female adolescents with their body satisfaction. I'll just give you a bit of a snapshot of what happened to my research. Basically, what I found out is that it's not effective. um, um, there are a lot of factors where where it was not effective. Probably because my chosen demographic, they don't really suffer from body issues. They're quite satisfied with their body, and also I forced my participants to do their expressive writing in English, and which is not their first language. So this time I've learned from those, shall we say, lapses with my previous research. So with the research that I'm carrying on, I'll be taking those into account. So I'm really excited to do this research and then later on share the results. So whether it's an effective intervention or whether it's better off working in relation with other interventions, that's what I'm going to find out. And yeah, hopefully I could share it to you in the coming years.
Absolutely. I'd love to know more about that. Absolutely. Yeah, I find it fascinating when I listen to scientists, neuroscientists, psychologists in this field, how it's not always, when it comes to research, about proving. Actually, it's also about disproving, right? So that's the value of research. It's not always going to be conclusive that, oh, I did this research and it means, this positive outcome came from it. Actually, however you describe it, maybe some research studies you do and you realize, okay, that wasn't effective, and then it teaches you for your next phase, right?
Exactly, yeah. Although sometimes this might be less less interesting topic with your audience, but if I might just share, sometimes social science and psychology, we're kind of pressured to show to to the readers, to the audience, that our research works. But like what you've said, it's better if you really offer a full picture of what happens with an intervention. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, that's the reality of doing research.
Absolutely. No, and I believe that would be very interesting for our listeners. Everything that we do at Karma as well is research led. We think it's very important to have evidence-based research off the back of anything that we're teaching and passing on from an educational perspective. So it's fascinating to hear from you as well, what your experience is and your thoughts. So thank you for sharing that. So I'd love to ask you, what do you believe are the mental health benefits of writing and blogging. So this may also be derived from the
Mhm.
research that you have been doing or current research that you're doing now. So not just the perspective of writing about mental health, but what do you find? Whether you're somebody who say, you know, if someone's listening and they are, say, struggling with their mental health, or there could be another listener
Mhm.
who is not necessarily struggling and they are, you know, finding, you know, passionate about finding, you know, joy in their life and things like that. I mean, there could be people who are experiencing so many different aspects when it comes to their mental health at this present time listening to us now. So whatever someone's going through, what could the mental health benefits be of writing and blogging from your
Mhm.
perspective?
I'll share to you one researcher by the name of James Pennebaker. He's the one who introduced expressive writing in the late 1980s. So basically what Dr. James Pennebaker found out is that people who engage in expressive writing, so it's just a fancy way of saying keeping a journal and sharing about your thoughts, your experiences. What he found out, and his co-research, is that by sharing your traumatic experiences, it allows you to make sense of what's happening with your life. And I suppose the underlying mechanisms with that is that you're able to, reflect on what happened to you, your traumatic experiences. And so I want to I want that piece of research to progress to the digital age, because with the digital age, like what I mentioned earlier, it's really quite rare that you will find people, especially adolescents, that they keep a journal, but instead they process their thoughts, their experiences through, say, for instance, Instagram or blogging. And that's what I want to find out. And ultimately, what I'm trying to say is whether whatever medium that you chose to express yourself, whether through traditional journal or whether through the digital form, is that ultimately it allows you to process what's happening with your life. And also there's also an element of it, being public, and that people can, pick up on your stories, especially for like what I've said, I ran an experiment about people with eating disorders, and they've got body satisfaction. And this is important because let's say, for instance, with eating disorders, you've got lots of forum like Pro Ana and Pro Mia websites, and these are forums that basically tell people how to to live as someone who's got anorexia and bulimia, how to starve yourselves. But we have as a blogger, we also have a responsibility to counteract that. And so I think that's what I'm trying to achieve as a blogger. So the first, like what I've mentioned, is the first purpose of expressing yourself through blogging is making sense of your experience. And number two is educating the public. And third is another purpose of blog is that, let's say there's a research, most of these research, they get published on journals. And these journals are often read by academics themselves. And it's good because, they're trying to advance their work, they learn from each other. But most of the people would really benefit from that piece of research, non-academics. But I'm not going to blame academics for writing the way they do, because that's how the ecosystem works. They use big words, they use complex sentences. But blogging is kind of bridging the gap between academics and the general public, because we tend to democratize the language. We make that piece of research more accessible. So that's another function of blogs. So it democratizes the language. It makes latest research about mental health more accessible to the general public.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's such a good point, actually. So, I mean, I've definitely noticed, in recent years, just how much more accessible research there is. And thanks to blogging platforms and, other writing platforms that share research in a very easy to understand way that perhaps before it was quite difficult to, or you had to be in that industry or that realm to really understand it. So it's great to be able to have access, to so much more research information nowadays, and especially thanks to blogging platforms like yours. So thank you.
Yeah, it makes us easier for us to understand, like schizophrenia, anorexia. It becomes more, part of the everyday language, because and that's the power of blogging. You know, like when you Google something, it doesn't give you the first search result won't be a scientific journal, won't be an academic journal, but rather you would end up, chances are, when you Google something about psychology, would end up with Psychology Today, which is a blog. Just goes to show how, you know, people prefer to access a blog more than a scientific journal.
It's fascinating. And, you know, I'd really love to get your perspective on this stigma attached to mental health. So if we go into that side of things now as well. So we've talked so much about the benefits of blogging, the benefits of, you know, how it can support and nurture your mental health, and how absolutely what you said about, you know, allowing you to access your feelings and make sense of what you're going through. Sadly, today there is still a stigma attached to mental health. You know, there's this sort of bias towards going towards the negative. Well, I say negative, I mean, you know, the challenging aspects of mental health. So when people, broadly speaking, hear the term, there's still a lot of a natural inclination to think of the, you know, the struggle, the challenge, the issues associated with mental health, which keeps driving the stigma, because, you know, we are living in a world now where there's so much more mental health awareness than there ever has been. There's still a long way to go, but we've definitely come a long way. But there's so much conversation around access to support, and when there's a problem, when you need help, etc., which of course is vitally important. However, and this is why, you know, you and I, Dennis, and our teams have created the Good Mental Health Festival that we're now running annually, right, to talk about that flip side of mental health, the positive aspects too. So what do you think is still driving that stigma attached to mental health, and how do you think it can be, you know, addressed in a way where we can start to look at mental health from a place of balance?
I think that the stigma comes from, you know, lack of awareness that we still don't see mental health as the same as physical health. You know, it's perfectly normal for us to see a GP if we're struggling with something with you know, physical aspect. But when it comes to, you know, like seeing a psychotherapist or seeing a psychiatrist, it's something that we're not seem to be open about. But the more we tend to normalize the conversation about mental health, I think we will come to a stage that, you know, like when we talk about mental health, we're giving it, shall we say, equal value with physical health. And yeah, just like what you've mentioned, we're doing an annual event, Good Mental Health Festival, and we're trying to offer a range of perspectives when it comes to mental health now and stigma. Now, in relation to stigma, one thing that I'm really passionate about is men's mental health for this reason. And of course, I'm also the representative for the male psychology section of postgraduate students at the British Psychological Society. And what I want to communicate to people is that there's a section of society that's still you know, not open to the idea of talking about mental health, and these are men. Statistically, men are more likely to die of suicide than anything else between the age of 20 to 40. That's a significant statistic that a lot of people are not aware about. And if you try to, you know, trace the reason why a lot of men commit suicide is because they can't talk. There's still an element of machismo, and as someone who grew up in Asian culture, I can attest to that. As someone who grew up in Asian culture in the 80s, I can, you know, I know I look young, but I'm nearly 40. You know, you don't really talk about mental health as a man, especially in Asian culture. I've lived in different countries, but most of the countries that I live are in Asia, and I can say that we definitely talk more about mental health in Western countries, but hopefully with platforms becoming more and more global and becoming more and more accessible, we can, you know, democratize and normalize the conversation about mental health with the ultimate goal of, you know, smashing the stigma when it comes to normal health, so that we can, you know, normalize it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well said. And it's so true, especially that, you know, that aspect of supporting men's mental health is absolutely vital too. So yeah, thank you for sharing that perspective. And hopefully, you know, we will get to a place very soon where you know, the wider society's viewpoint on mental health is from a balanced perspective, where we understand that mental health fluctuates like on a scale, like we would with our physical health, as you said, Dennis, as well. You know, that there is, you know, struggling with your mental health, but there's also, you know, being in a state of positive mental health. There can be, you know, having a physical injury or a poor diet, but then there's also good diet and exercise and fitness. So it's the same thing, isn't it? So I'd love to just know from your perspective, what would it be if you were going to give one tip today for our listeners, or how you can get started on accessing your voice when it comes to writing?
I think just be comfortable and forget about grammar, forget about spelling, because ultimately you're just sharing your vulnerability. Especially, you know, when we're trying to, you know, present ourselves online, we try to make the illusion that it's perfect. But you know, creating a content, when we're creating content online, we should not really be think about it has got to be perfect, you know. It's got to be presentable, but we have also to show the messy side, the vulnerable side, especially when we're talking about mental health. So just be authentic. I think that's my key message.
Yeah, beautiful message. Thank you. And you know, absolutely as well, the fact that vulnerability is something, you know, that we all have, isn't it? And actually sharing your vulnerability in a way can be incredibly powerful, and it shows a lot of strength, doesn't it? Yeah.
Exactly.
Brilliant. Oh, it's been so wonderful to speak to you today, Dennis. Can you please tell us how people can stay connected with you? How do they follow you? Do you have anything that's coming up at the moment?
So all my contact details is on my website. So just Google my name, Dennis Reolojo-Howell. It's a mouthful. But they can also read my website, psychreg.org, or better yet, they could contribute on PsychReg. I'm on social media. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. I'm also on LinkedIn. But the best way to get in touch with me will be through my personal website. My contact details there. I'm always open to collaborating with people who share the same ethos and values as me. And any upcoming project other than the annual event that we're hosting, I don't have that. But also, I just recently published a book. It's called Let's Talk About Behavior. So it's available on Amazon. And then for the next few months, I think I'll be reducing my presence in social media because I'll be focusing my time on research.
Amazing. And what's the name of your website, your personal website?
Yes, my website is dennis.psychreg, that's psychreg.org. And I'm also on YouTube because just like Tanya, I also talk to interesting people within psychology, mental health, and well-being. And incidentally, you were also one of my previous guests, and it's been a fascinating conversation with you. It's nice to, you know, be on the other side of the table, being interviewed rather than the one doing the interview.
Absolutely. No, it's been a pleasure, Dennis. And just very quickly, tell us a little bit more about your book. Congratulations on your launch.
Thank you. So basically, my book is a collection of essays on psychology, mental health, and well-being. And I forgot to mention, aside from being a blogger, I also have a regular column at Malaysian newspaper, Free Malaysia Today. So it's one of the leading newspapers in Malaysia. I think that's one of the fringe benefits of blogging. They came across my blog and they invited me to write a regular column for them. So every week I publish a story about mental health. So it's not just for Malaysians or for people based in Asia, but anyone can access it. So just Google Free Malaysia Today and my name, and then you'll find my writings about mental health and well-being.
A man of many talents. Thank you so much, Dennis. It's been such a joy to speak to you today. Thank you so much for your time. And definitely everyone listening, please do check Dennis out, check PsychReg out. Super inspiring content on all the platforms that Dennis runs. And definitely I'll be checking out your book as well. So thank you very much, and take good care of yourself, Dennis.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be joining you on your podcast.
Thank you so much. Take care, everyone. And I look forward to connecting with you all again soon. Bye-bye now.